Welcome to Chris's Fiction Podcast. Today, we have a special guest that we pulled off the street, Mr. Michael Williams. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Michael Williams.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so we got a couple questions for you. Are you ready to answer them?
Yes.
Alright, first off, there is a myth in Germany about this woman who escaped on a unicorn from the military/Christians, and she killed one of them by using magic and making a huge hole. Do you think this is credible or just another myth?
I don't think that could happen in the real world.
And why not?
Because people don't just make big holes unless she dug it and made like a trap. So I could see like that getting misinterpreted as her setting a booby trap and then them thinking that she's just magic.
But what about the fact of her riding a unicorn? Apparently there were 4 witnesses to that, even though it's like back in the day.
Well, I can pay for people to tell the cops whatever I want them to tell.
You go and pay. They were officials. You think she would bribe the Christians who were trying to kill her to tell everyone she was riding a unicorn?
Everybody has a price.
If you say so. Alright, next question. What do you think about the healing capabilities of a unicorn's horn? It is said they can cure any disease and poison if you make the horn into a cup.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen a unicorn, or I don't know of any unicorns that have turned their horns into cups, so I can't really give an opinion on that.
So you're saying you have no opinion?
On the fact that unicorns might not exist, yes.
Well, okay. What about the ancient cave paintings of a unicorn-like animal?
It's not that hard to draw a line off of the top of a horse's head.
Well, I don't think anyone would actually do that to vandalize a ancient painting. It's kind of screwed up.
Yeah, but you know, artists aren't perfect and they also make mistakes. Or it could just be artist creativity.
Well, I don't think they were very creative in the caveman era. I'm pretty sure they were still trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, but as humans we were always creative. That's what kept us alive.
So you're saying we just looked at a horse and kind of said, oh, what if we put a horn on this thing? It'll look pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they've seen animals with horns, and then they were wondering what a horse with horns would look like. And plus, it could have been like a creature that was then, and then got, by natural selection, was weeded out because the horn did not help it in any way.
So you're saying it is possible that it was a thing?
It is possible that a horse with a horn is possible. Unicorn that can heal powers and fly on rainbows may not be real.
Well, okay then. Now, what about the rhino and narwhal mix-up with the unicorn? How some people thought the rhino was a unicorn, and how people took a narwhal's horn and used it for the so-called healing capabilities of the unicorn horn.
Well, let's go with the fact that unicorns are real. If someone's stupid enough to mistake a 300-foot-long fish with a horn as a 4-legged animal that lives on the ground, then they deserve to not get the healing powers.
I think you misheard the question. I mean the people taking the narwhal's horn and using it to take people's money, telling them it's a unicorn horn. What do you think about that?
They're smart.
Okay, now what about the rhino mix-up, about people thinking the rhino is a unicorn?
They're them thinking it or them using it to sell?
Them actually thinking a rhino is a unicorn.
I mean, it's got 4 legs, a horn, and it kind of resembles a unicorn because, I don't know, have you seen a unicorn? I haven't.
Oh no. Okay, now, what do you think about the whole thing? People mostly think about unicorns able to be captured only by maidens.
Well, I wouldn't know because I'm not a maiden, but
Oh no, you get the figure for one.
thank you.
Okay, now what about the actual possibilities of unicorns existing right now?
I think I already established that. That if there was, there could have been a creature with a horn that resembled a horse. But I don't think there was a unicorn creature that had healing capabilities, can only be captured by maidens, and pooped out rainbows. Like,
Oh no, the rhino comes pretty close to that one.
it shits dung.
The closest thing we have to rainbows. Now we'll move on to dragons. What do you think how a dragon might breathe fire?
How?
Yes.
Well, I don't think it does because I don't think dragons exist. The fact that there's a large creature that can fly and has fire breathing capabilities when burns and physical harm, I don't think it's possible for a creature to have it inside of them.
Well, in case you haven't followed any of my podcasts since I do this thing, we have actually covered the possibility of a dragon existing, and we come to the conclusion that the dragon might be able to breathe fire through the digestion system, having the methane that we naturally produce and putting in another lung. But that's for a different story.
How does it protect its mouth and lungs from burning and getting third-degree burns and first-degree burns when the fire, I know you do this, but literal fire out of its mouth?
Well, first off, if it's actually able to do that, it would have evolved a mouth that's more resistant to fire. Plus, the fire would only react with oxygen, and I would hope it would blow fast enough so it doesn't stay in its mouth for too long. I don't think a dragon's going to sit there and make its mouth go on fire long enough for it to actually realize that it's in pain. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fast and quick, and only as like a last resort.
But if there's a constant stream of fire coming out, if you put your hand next to a flamethrower, it's still gonna burn you. It doesn't, and the fire resistant, we've just now developed technology for that, and we're in the 21st century. Where is the, like, what can create, like, I know the whole lion's tongue effect about if you put something hot in your mouth, it's not as hot because the liquid helps distribute the heat, but it doesn't make sense that you have a fire-resistant mouth.
Well, not a fire-resistant mouth. Oh, we have covered the fact that a dragon has thick saliva that could be used as a heat sieve, and that might occur for the fact that with the thick saliva, it could possibly help the fact of the fire breath not hurting its mouth as much.
Okay. But that still doesn't quite cover how it makes fire.
Well, like I said earlier with the methane, when it has a special lung, when it's able to make the methane, it'll shoot the methane out, and it will have it can have
A lighter? It'll just have a lighter in the back of its neck and
no,
light up while it's...
no. There's two possibilities. It could have phosphorus in its system from other digestives it might eat, or, which I didn't cover in the video, it could eat like flint or platinum or other ignition things, have it like in their molar and bite down, causing a flint to actually spark the ignition of the fire.
So, what you're telling me is that A, this thing happens to ingest phosphorus and then can breathe fire, or B, you have, it is smart enough to carry a flint in the back of its mouth, and then as it's like, oh, I want to start a fire, it bites down and then ignites that flame.
Or it's not hard to think that a dragon's smart enough to do something like that. It's not like it's making civilizations, but it is smart enough to do such thing, I think, if it existed. I mean, we have monkeys out there that use tools to make nuts open for itself, or other animals that use the nature and environment around them to do things they needed to do.
But that's needed. You don't need to breathe fire. Humans did not breathe fire, and I think we have came along pretty okay.
Well, it could be just as a defensive mechanism, or maybe like humans, it needs to eat its food cooked, so that could be a possibility. And I don't think, dragons can just exactly rub its massive feet together on a stick and make a fire.
But they don't need fire. Other animals don't have fires, and they survive just about as fine as we do.
Yeah, but it could have been an evolutionary thing. We do not know.
Because they don't exist.
They could. Now, we'll get to the possibility of them existing later. But first, if they do exist, what do you think the attempt to ride one would be like?
That would be the dumbest idea you could possibly think of.
Well, people have rid horses. Someone had to try to take the step to ride a horse. So, I think someone would try to ride a dragon.
Okay, so in your comparison, you're comparing a four-legged, furry animal with like 1,000-pound, flying, fire-breathing death machine.
Yes. Well, we have covered in the podcast that the dragons might not be as big as we thought they were originally. They could be a bit smaller because of the fact that it would be hard for such a big thing to fly. It could be from 1 to 10 feet long, but we're thinking for this particular question, they're possibly the size of a horse or bigger.
Okay, so you find it hard to believe that whatever pound dragon could fly, but you'd say a dragon the size of a horse has a pretty good chance. You're telling me if I strap some wings on a horse that it's going to have a good chance to fly?
No, I do not think that. The horse would have to have wings, a wing muscle to actually fly, which the dragon would.
So yeah, like I said, if I strap some wings on them and get them working wings, do you think a horse could fly?
Well, if you can just alter the genetics of a horse to have wing muscles, I don't think that's actually possible. Just strapping wings on something hoping it can fly is, kind of ridiculous. So it's the idea of a dragon, but you never know. It could happen.
So you never know. It could happen that a horse with strapped on wings can fly.
If you make the wings sturdy enough. But, next question. Where do you think the dragons would live if they do exist?
Probably somewhere cold, because they've got fire, and I don't know, that's pretty hot.
So you think they would live somewhere cold? I would think they would have different regions they would live in. I mean, humans and other animals have been known to adapt to different environments. Don't you think it would be possible for dragons to do the same thing?
Well, you're also making the assumption that these dragons are some really smart creature that can hold flint in the back of their mouth. So, yeah, I guess with that in mind, yes, they could adapt, but I mean, I'm thinking as something as tameable as a dog and the base intelligence of survive and eat.
Well, every animal has that. And it could be possible that, like the dog you just brought up, the dragons would have several different species that broke off from the original dragon ancestor if it such existed.
It may, but the dogs live in extreme conditions. They live in the cold because of their fur, but they can't go and live in Mexico for long periods. Then they turn more into coyotes with smaller hair.
Yeah, but they adapted over time. I'm not saying the dragon could just move from Antarctica to the Sahara Desert within a day. I'm saying if different species of different places, they adapted to that place, making it a new species entirely.
Okay, so now you're not only telling me that I have to believe in a dragon existing, but I have to believe in multiple dragons species existing. And in that fact, it doesn't even make sense for them to be area-based animals, seeing as how they can fly.
I don't know. Eagles are generally in the same area except for when they fly south for the winter.
Exactly, so maybe I'll fly south for the winter.
I'm pretty sure it's a reptilian though. I don't think reptilians, crawl down south for the winter.
Yeah, they normally stay in the south.
Or hibernate. Anyway, on to the next question. Now, we're going more into the myth of things and if it actually existed. What do you think the idea of the whole thing of dragons being the protagonist versus them being the antagonist?
It's still unreasonable to think that they're as smart as humans. Like, they're a creature, and if you're doubting their ability to put flint and steel in their mouth, then I'd be doubting their ability to actually have thoughts about being mean against somebody and having emotions and feelings like that.
Well, in the mythologies, they're rather intelligent, having either been guardians for things or just a straight up bad guy who has plotted, i.e., Smog. That's not a myth, that's a story.
Well, is this coming from the same mythologies that say there's a overseen being that flies around and strikes lightning upon people that don't obey him?
Yes.
Then I don't know how credible that mythology is.
Well, if you're listening to earlier, we're saying we're moving away from the possibility of them existing for this question and to just the mythology. What do you think about that whole idea of the dragons versus good guys or dragons versus bad guys?
Well, seeing as how they are so smart and intelligent, I would say that they can be whatever they want to be.
Alright, now we're going to move to the last question of the day. The possibility of dragons exist. No?
No.
No, okay. What are you knowing to?
Just no. Dragons are no. Yeah. No.
You don't think they have any possibility of existing?
No.
Or having existed?
No.
You don't think there could have been a dinosaur out there that resembled what we think of a dragon today?
One that spits fire.
You can ignore the whole spitting fire and such for this question.
Well, then it's the same as a unicorn. I'm sure someone could strap a horn onto a horse and have it run fast by a city, and then, oh, I saw a horse with a horn on it. I could do the same with a dragon. Like, it's just everything can be misinterpreted.
I'm pretty sure you're going to have difficulty finding a big enough lizard to strap wings upon, though.
Well, you just said they could be from 1 foot to 10 feet long.
Realistically, but okay, here's another question. Then how do you explain the whole different civilizations across the world actually having paintings or myths of the single dragon without actually interacting with each other?
So what you're going to try to tell me is that a person couldn't leave the civilization. So you're telling me one person couldn't move to a different one or move across the continent?
Well, it took pretty long, and most of the myths popped around in the general area of time. I don't think one person could be fast enough to travel across the continent, especially when they probably had only horses or maybe even just walking on their own 2 feet.
We were survivalists back then. I think we would have been fine, seeing as how there's the bridge above from Alaska to Russia. You can pretty much get anywhere, and we had, old Native American tribes had boats, but we didn't move too far away, and there's all the islands attaching, so you could easily make it across to Russia and implement some sort of cultural change through.
but that clearly didn't really happen until well, at least for the Native American part, that didn't actually happen until like the late 1600s, early 1600s, around that time period.
Well, then it was the other way around. They came from Russia to America.
I doubt your credibility on that one, but
Why?
think of. Hold on. Well, that's all the time we have for today. It was interesting having you on the show, Mr. Williams. It was nice meeting you. Have any last words to say?
I thought I was getting paid for this.
No, we're just gonna execute you. Goodbye.